Every company you have ever worked for runs on two sets of rules. The first set is written down: job descriptions, performance reviews, promotion criteria, company values printed on the wall near the elevator. You were handed that set during onboarding. You were never handed the second set. The second set determines who actually gets promoted, who gets protected, who gets overloaded until they quit, who gets blamed when things fall apart, and who moves through the whole thing untouched. Most employees spend years playing by the first set, while the people above them operate entirely from the second. And the gap between those two rule books is where careers go to die. The hardest worker is not always the one who moves up. The most loyal person is not always the one who gets kept. And if you have ever watched someone less capable pass you and could not explain why, you were not paranoid. You were just reading the wrong handbook. Here are 15 rules from the one they never gave you. Rule 1. Your boss does not reward effort. Your boss rewards usefulness to their goals. You stayed late rebuilding a system that saves the team hours every week. Nobody mentioned it. Meanwhile, someone else put together a slide deck that made your manager look sharp in front of a director. That person got named in the all hands. You did not get recognition. You got assigned. The difference was not quality. The difference was who benefited. Labor that makes power look good gets recognized. Labor that disappears into infrastructure gets consumed. If nobody with authority can see what you did and connect it to something they care about, you did not do valuable work. You did invisible work. And invisible work builds invisible careers. Rule 2. Reliability is rewarded until it becomes exploitable. In the beginning, being dependable gets you praised. You become the person who never drops things. That feels like trust. Then the assignments shift. You get the understaffed project, the impossible deadline, the coverage for someone who quit 3 months ago and was never replaced. And every time it arrives in the same sentence: "We're giving this to you because you're the only one we trust with it." That was not recognition. That was your willingness being used as a staffing plan. Once you have been mapped as someone who absorbs, the organization will keep feeding you chaos until you break or leave. Nobody will check on you before either of those happens. They will check on the project. Rule 3. Visibility beats quiet excellence every time. You build the project, someone else walks into the meeting and summarizes it. Everyone nods. Your name is not said. Nobody corrects it. 3 weeks later, that person is described as the one who led the initiative. The work does not speak for itself. It never has. If it cannot be seen, it does not count. And if someone else is seen standing next to it first, it becomes theirs. Rule 4. Promotions do not go to the best performer. They go to the safest political choice. A director has 2 candidates. One is sharp, independent, delivers results, but asks hard questions and does not fold easily. The other is less impressive but agreeable, predictable, and easy to manage upward. The second one gets promoted, not sometimes, routinely, because leadership does not promote the person who performs best. Leadership promotes the person who threatens least. And the one who was passed over gets told to keep delivering, as if performance was the part that failed. Rule 5. The person who controls the narrative controls the outcome. Your performance is not defined by what you have done. It is defined by what gets said about you in rooms you are never invited into. One sentence from a senior leader can reshape your entire trajectory. "She's great technically, but not strategic." That label does not need evidence. It just needs repetition. Once it sticks, everything you do gets filtered through it. You are not told it is happening. You just feel the temperature drop. Doors that used to open start staying closed, and you keep working harder, thinking effort is the issue. Effort was never the issue. Rule 6. HR exists to protect the company, not you. When you file a complaint, what activates is a containment process. The question being asked behind closed doors is not, "Was this person wronged?" It is the organization exposed? The employee who walks in expecting advocacy and receives procedure instead is not experiencing a broken system. They are meeting the system for the first time. That meeting changes people. Rule 7. Being liked matters. Being easy to manage matters more. A competent employee who pushes back, escalates problems, and requires honest engagement on every decision is exhausting. A less competent employee who agrees, absorbs direction, and never makes the morning harder is a relief. Managers under pressure will choose relief. Over time, the people who made things smooth get promoted. The people who made things right get managed out. Not for being wrong, for being work. Rule 8. Boundaries are only respected after they cost someone something. You can say no. You can explain your limits. You can be clear about your bandwidth. None of it matters if your behavior keeps saying yes. A boundary that bends every time it is tested is not a boundary, it is a suggestion, and suggestions get ignored. Rule 9. You are being evaluated on how controllable you are, not just how good you are. This one operates in the background for months before you feel it. You are performing well. You start asking for things that match: credit, equity, input on direction. And then something shifts. It is not sudden, it is tonal. Your manager's replies get shorter. Meetings you used to be pulled into stop appearing on your calendar. Feedback becomes vague in a way it never was before. You are not doing anything wrong. You are doing something uncomfortable. You are becoming harder to steer, and the system does not punish that directly. It reclassifies you. You move from high potential to needs alignment. Nobody tells you. You just stop getting chosen for things you used to be chosen for. And if you ask why, the answer will sound developmental. It will sound like you need to grow. What it actually means is you already grew past the point where they felt comfortable. Rule 10. The reward for fixing chaos is becoming the permanent chaos absorber. You stabilized a failing project. You covered for 2 missing roles. You held a team together through a quarter that should have collapsed. And what did the organization learn? Not that you deserved more, that you could absorb dysfunction without escalating it. So instead of fixing the root, they kept handing you the wreckage. Your competence became the replacement for infrastructure the company refused to build. You were the fix. That was the problem. Rule 11. Loyalty is demanded downward and discarded upward. You are told to stay through the hard times, commit, show you are a team player. Then budgets shift, leadership changes direction, your position becomes inconvenient. And that loyalty you showed evaporates in a single meeting you were not invited to. You are expected to sacrifice. They reserve the right to be strategic. Both sides use the same word for it. Rule 12. Meetings are not for information. They are for power. Who gets asked for input? Who gets interrupted? Who gets eye contact from the decision maker? Whose concern gets tabled? Whose idea gets repeated 10 minutes later by someone more senior and suddenly treated as original? You have sat in that meeting. You have watched your own words come back to you in someone else's mouth, and everyone nodded like it was the first time they heard it. Rule 13. Feedback is not always development. Sometimes it is compression. You are told to be less direct, less visible, less vocal. The language sounds developmental, more polished, more measured, better at reading the room. But the effect is reduction. You become smaller, softer, easier to handle, and you comply because you believe you are growing. If every piece of feedback you receive makes you quieter, it is worth asking who it is making you quieter for. Rule 14. Job security does not come from being essential. It comes from being essential in a way people above you can explain in one sentence. You might be the most critical person on your team, but if the person making budget decisions cannot describe what you do, you are already gone. You just have not been told yet. Value that cannot be narrated, cannot be defended. When the cuts come, the names that survive are not the most important, they are the most explainable. Rule 15. The biggest advantage you will ever have at work is not talent. It is seeing the system clearly before it needs you to stay confused. Every rule in this list runs whether you see it or not. Praise is still functioning as extraction. Visibility is still outranking effort. Labels are still being written in rooms you will never enter. Loyalty is still flowing in one direction. None of this stops because you are talented, but something does shift once you see it. You stop mistaking praise for protection. You stop treating access as loyalty. You stop performing harder when the problem was never performance. And you start reading the room you are actually standing in. Not the one they described during orientation, the real one, the one that was always running underneath. You do not go back after that. Not because you became cynical, because you became the one person in the room they could not explain away.